with the help of the RSS. Ladies and gentlemen, now quick look at global affairs. There were reports of a recent call between Trump and Putin. Report came out. Apparently Putin was told by Trump, exercise restraint, I have my armies in Europe. But now the Russians have come and said, and I just have what they've said, they said it's complete and absolute fiction. Pure fiction. There has been no conversation between Trump and Putin.
According to Western media reports, Donald Trump held a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today. Trump reportedly asked President Putin to not escalate the war in Ukraine. Kremlin, on the other hand, has categorically denied that such a call even took place in the first place. A theme very central to Donald Trump's 2024 campaign was to stop the ongoing Ukraine war. The president-elect was once asked who he wants to win in this particular war. Trump answered, he doesn't want anyone to win the war as long as the conflict comes to an end.
Every time Zelensky comes to the United States, he walks away with $100 billion. I think he's the greatest salesman on earth. But we're stuck in that war unless I'm president. I'll get it done. I'll get it negotiated. I'll get out. We got to get out.
Furthermore, he has often maintained the opinion that the Biden-Kamala duo did not know how to talk to Putin. Trump's victory has birthed renewed hopes that the war in Ukraine might actually come to an end. However, it is yet to be seen if Trump's words comprised actual resolve, or was it just mere rhetoric?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I first like to go across to Professor Andrew Latham, who is joining us from Minnesota today. He's a well-known geostrategic analyst, and on the other side is senior Russian journalist Tatiana Kokoreva. Professor Latham, this news, it seems to be a hoax because Kremlin has denied it. You think such a call could have happened? Wasn't it sounding too casual for Trump to just pick up the phone and start doing straight one-to-one chat with Putin when Putin hasn't even acknowledged his victory yet?
Well, it's both Putin and Trump have incentives to, I won't say lie, mislead their respective audiences. I'm largely convinced that there was no phone call unless there was in Donald Trump's head. But I also think he's signaling quite clearly that he's willing to put some pressure on both the Ukrainian side and, to the extent possible, on the Russian side to bring these two, Zelensky and Putin, together and to provide some kind of an off-ramp for both of them and therefore end this war, not in the first 24 hours, as he claimed ludicrously during the campaign, initiatives of his new administration. I think this is a pretty high priority, and I think he's signaling now to both sides, especially to Putin, you've got pretty much what you want, and Zelensky, you're losing the war, let's bring it to a close.
Yeah, but is Russia ready to end the war? Tatiana.
Arnab, it's interesting that you're asking me this instead of literally asking you the same question. Can I just comment on the view of my US
on the so-called phone call?
Let's talk about the one side that is inclined to mislead in this specific instance, because let me remind you that the Kremlin has said no such phone call happened. The Trump administration never actually said anything. It's a report by Washington Post. So why aren't we questioning the media that are speculating on this, citing unknown, obviously anonymous sources, a media that has a clear history of left-wing bias? So let me translate this: affiliated with the side that has lost this election. And second of all, let's come back to the fact: Trump is not yet president. yes, he has won an election. There's still the Electoral College that has to vote in December. He will not be actually president until January. So let's please come back to reality and not discuss something that cannot actually happen until he is president, which is not yet for another, let's say, well, not 2 months, but, 1 month and how many days? 20-something days. Shall we?
Yep. Sergey, Sergey, can you hear me? He's Director of Communications at the BRICS Cultural Media Forum. Sergey, who's the pressure on? I think the pressure is going to be on Trump. He's given this 24-hour deadline of ending the war, raised expectations.
First of all, my opinion is that Indian media puts so much attention for this fact, but it's not actually a fact that Donald Trump called to Vladimir Putin, because our press secretary of our president not confirmed this. And I agree that Donald Trump is not president yet. But all global society has a bigger expectation about the future, and especially Russian-American relationships. That's why I can see the special peacemaking role of India in this dialogue, because both of our president and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they have very warm relationship with the future president of America, Donald Trump. That's why I can see that there's a lot of possibilities with the dialogue of civilization, because Trump is a representative of new elite of America. He is more businessman than politician. You know very well that usually American policy is to control, to dominate, to cheat global leaders, to make everything for their benefits. But Trump is a representative of such kind of thinking, that win-win situation, like a trader. What we can do for your favor, for my favor. That's why he can be very active and useful for our next dialogue with America. We can restart and refresh our relationships.
But you got 3 months now. Basically, I think that Biden has got, 2.5 months. And,
yes.
And Zelensky knows that when Trump comes in, he's going to stop the aid, or at least this kind of aid. And he's going to tell Putin that whatever territories you've liberated, keep it up to a point, and let's stop the war. Right? So it's as simple as that. So Putin has got 2.5 months to take more territory and then come on the negotiating table. So it's quite set. It's a win-win for Putin either way, Professor Latham. I mean, there's no other way. When a person commits that I'll end the war, he has already given up his cards, Professor Latham. He is committed to ending the war, ending the hostilities. If the hostility, so it's a ball is entirely on Trump's court. He's put himself in a weak position geopolitically by making the commitment before even being elected.
Wait, didn't say.
President-elect, and the fact that he hasn't been sworn in is not relevant really to this conversation, because what's going on here is he's signaling what's going to happen on January 20th when he is in control. And here's what's going to happen. He's going to put a lot of pressure on Zelensky. He's going to dial down U.S. aid to Ukraine. And that, the Ukrainian military is crumbling as we speak. Russia is making more advances in the last few weeks than it made since the first few weeks of the war. Ukraine is losing this war. But President Zelensky is very unpopular. He needs an off-ramp. And I think if he can say, well, President Trump forced me, that's partly his off-ramp. On the other side, and this is a bit of a sticking point, President Putin has said that he's happy to have, quote unquote, liberated the chunks of Donetsk and Luhansk that he has. But one of his conditions for peace is that the international community recognizes those two territories as part of the Russian Federation. And that's going to be a hard sell. When I look at Trump, first of all, I don't really like to look at Trump, but when I'm forced to look at Trump and I'm forced to listen to him, he's transactional. He wants to bring this, he has no real vested interest here. other than telling the American people that even before he was sworn into office, he was making things happen. And after he's sworn into office, he brought this terrible war to an end.
Professor Andrew, he's already committed. He has to just follow through.
Yes.
And he has to just call off the war. There is no mediation required now. America is the mediator. Actually, it's always a proxy American war, and Trump is not interested. It's over. Putin can grab all the territory he's got. Zelensky will be thrown out.
Yes.
Europe is going to back off because Europe cannot fight Trump. They're fighting too much among themselves. Ukraine does not get any EU membership now or in the next 100 years.
No.
Right?
But
and Putin ends up being the strategic winner out of this, with India and China also doing business with Putin. So, I mean, what did America gain out of all this will be the question. I want a word from Tatiana. Is this oversimplifying it, Tatiana? Is this oversimplifying it? You can't trust Trump. Trump can change his line.
You know me, Arnab, I don't like to speculate, but I would disagree with Professor Latham. We come from different parts of this conversation. I actually prefer to, I like to maybe he likes to look at Kamala Harris if he doesn't like to look at Trump, but I don't like to listen to the Democratic candidates or the sitting president. I think it's very, very disappointing that he is even president at this point. It's a disgrace, really. But I think that it was a matter of time. Look, I think we've spoken about this about a year ago, that it's a matter of economics. Europe is already crumbling. We see the events coming out of Germany. People are, the coalition basically has faltered. They are looking at early elections. The people, according to one of the recent polls, are dissatisfied with, basically they don't like either of the candidates. That means that, it's an economic question. Somebody had to stop pouring US taxpayer money into a conflict that has nothing to do with the US, that was designed in order to prove a very simple point, that the US kind of has the means and the opportunity to dictate its terms to everybody. And so far, this point has failed. So it's a very simple question whether Donald Trump, but let's not oversimplify it to a point where, yes, he is a president-elect. He will be sworn in. I obviously miscalculated. It's not yet the 20th of November, so we still have the full 2 months ahead of us. There is also a party, and the party is behind him. So let's wait and see these 2 months. We know, all of us, that, politicians, even if they come from the business circles, they do what is, and Trump is actually, I don't think he's that much in negotiations. He does something that's good for
the twist could
America.
The twist could be that the Democratic Party tries to end this before Trump comes in. On their terms, but I think there's not going to be enough time for that, especially because Putin knows that Trump is going to call it off anyway. So right now, I think it's advantage Putin. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for that. And viewers, tomorrow is the India Economic Summit here at the Republic News Media Headquarters. And we have the Finance Minister joining us around noon, and a lot of luminaries from the corporate world and those who understand and analyze the Indian economy. That's tomorrow all day. We'll be cutting live to that, large chunks of it. So see you tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.